I think as a U.S. attorney or as a prosecutor, one shouldn't focus on numbers and prosecutions and things of that, but should focus on making our community safer, more secure, and to hold people accountable for their actions. Going through the interview process for a U.S. attorney, which the only thing I think compares to is going through the interview process of being a federal judge, you go through a lot of interviews, questions, background checks, and one of the questions that stood out with me early on is, what do I see as the priorities of my office? And I listed 3, and I'm going to go through those. And the first one, and this was back when I was saying priorities, is drugs, drugs, drugs. I think that's probably been a priority of every U.S. attorney since about 1973. And I had some ideas I wanted to implement. One is I wanted to change some of the focus on the office to more on the drugs that are actually killing our community, such as fentanyl, meth, and other opiates. And it's also where a lot of violence is associated with. I wanted to focus more on the mid-level distributors as opposed to the street-level distributors. I also want to work with recovery and prevention groups so we can try to prevent this problem from happening. As a judge, I got to see this a lot. And as a community member in Southern West Virginia, unfortunately, I get to see this a lot. Last night, I get a text from my son asking me how a former senior league baseball teammate of his, and who I coached, died. And unfortunately, my son knew the answer, and I knew the answer before I found out the answer, and it was an overdose. So it's something that I have seen, and very committed to everything I can do to protect our community from that. Another priority of what I saw for the U.S. Attorney's Office is white-collar crimes. U.S. Attorney's offices are often best equipped to deal with white-collar crimes. They also require a lot of intense work. I'm happy with our office because we've already had several successful prosecutions for some romance scams, elder scams, and COVID fraud. And I would expect you to expect more of the same. And the third priority I had was domestic terrorism. Fortunately, our district has not been touched by this significantly yet, but that's the phone call I dread each morning. And I was so committed to that I actually took a AUSA from our office and detailed them to the DC office to work on the January 6th prosecutions.